Jiggy jiggy! Hello, everybody, and welcome to
Well, hopefully,
what?
as they trickle in. I just said, and we're live now. Come give Nando questions to ask since he screwed up the time.
My bad. Sorry, everybody.
You might want to check your
Earlier,
settings.
Jake.
Hold on, just
What?
check your settings. You might want to upgrade your high def, your grainy. What's wrong,
Oh,
Nando?
yeah. You know what? I didn't set it up. Sorry, everyone. You'll have to put up with grainy Nando. You're here to see Jake anyway, though. Sorry, no Claudia this week. We gave her the week
Not
off.
week. No, this week.
Yeah, no Claudia today. We gave her the day off.
Today. Yeah.
Let's get to some questions. All right, Jake. I've got some. If anyone else has questions, dump them in the chat. We'll get to them if they're good. I mean,
Just
you
reported
mostly-
Julio
90%
Jones
of
missed
them-
practice.
All right, there's your biggest news so far. Julio Jones missed practice. We're used to that, though, right, Jake?
I mean, a Thursday practice, missed practice after not playing. This kind of feels like another week he might be out.
Tell you what, I find more interesting that the Atlanta defense is actually. I mean, I know Taysom Hill was one of those games, but the Atlanta defense has actually been pretty decent. I think I asked Chris Vaccaro this. I don't think I got around to you yet. Is Atlanta still like set it and forget it for your offenses if you're facing them in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, it was Taysom Hill. It was also Drew Lock torched him. Drew Lock had Jerry Jeudy go off. He had KJ Hammer had a decent game. Tim Patrick caught a touchdown, even though he only had like 30 yards or whatever. But basically, it's Drew Lock. Matthew Stafford had the yards, but only threw one touchdown. Who else? Somebody else just recently threw over 300 yards against them, but only had one touchdown. People are still putting up points on them.
All right, fair. This is Brandon Jacobs. This is Josh Jacobs' situation. It looks like he might not be playing, Jake. I wish I could go back and there's no way to actually look this up. I would have to read a bunch of stuff to see what his tendencies are. Like, it feels like Josh Jacobs has not almost played a bunch of times and maybe actually played a couple of those times when he wasn't expected to.
Do you want to take Pat Mayo at his word?
What?
Because there's no stats for it, but Pat, on his show when we did the rankings column earlier this week, he said when Josh Jacobs has been questionable heading into a game, he's played like poo.
All right, but I mean, he played.
But he played like poo if he was questionable.
Well, I mean, that doesn't help people who have Devontae Booker.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
If you have Devontae Booker, he's a top 20 play if there is no Josh Jacobs.
Right.
If you have Josh Jacobs and he plays, you can make a case you could bench him.
I think we've said this before, that if you look back at what Las Vegas has done back when they were Oakland, especially last year, week 17, DeAndre Washington started in place of Jacobs and went nuts. And there was no Jalen Richard involved any more than he was every other week when Josh Jacobs was there.
And now there's no Jalen Richard, period.
Yeah. So that compliment stays a compliment. It's not like they split.
Right.
So, Jake, here he goes. Coos Quad, okay.
I don't know.
I think he's giving you a kicker question to be funny. Thanks, Chris.
Good. I love how the people who are tweeting that kickers matter on Twitter don't realize that they're just supporting the argument to ban kickers.
Who was it? That was someone, James Coe?
No.
I saw he had a
Fabiano's
very
a
long
fan.
Stred.
Fabiano's a fan of kickers. And when he was on the podcast, he's tried to argue for me. And I was like, but you do realize the three names you're arguing for weren't even drafted as top 12 kickers this year. That's the point, is they're wildly unpredictable. But anyway,
well,
I actually didn't mind in DFS. In FanDuel, I was doing great when FanDuel used to have kickers because you just look for one of the lowest priced options and one of the highest Vegas totals for inherent what's the terminology? Expected points.
Yeah.
That's what you look for. And I was great because I was never spending up for kickers because kickers don't matter. So I was actually kind of upset. DFS, I was mildly upset that FanDuel got rid of him.
Chris Vaccaro made a good point in his column last week about kickers. Just a brief one. I think it was last week. Maybe it was 2 weeks ago. By the way, theathletic.com. Check it out. I actually think if you're lucky, if you're in one of those, I don't know how they do the algorithm, but some people are still getting $1 a month subscriptions.
And at worst case, I think some people are still getting $1 a week.
Yeah, go check out Jake's column or any column in the fantasy section. And some of those might have, keep trying, but the paywall might give you $1 a month. Anyway, Chris Vaccaro said, just looking ahead, you might want to start looking at a kicker, and this kind of goes back to you in a way in that they don't matter if you just want to swap out a kicker who you may have some affinity toward, who's going to be kicking in domes in weeks 15 and 16 and not in the weather. I liked it. Taz has a question. What's up, Taz? Julio not practicing today. Any downgrade to Ridley since he'll have to face Lattimore?
No, because they don't have Zacchaeus, who got hurt. I think he's actually on the IR. So it's Russell Gage, Brandon Powell, and Who's the other one I'm forgetting? But anyway, Calvin Ridley, yeah, it's concerning with Lattimore, but Lattimore is not the Lattimore from past years. Similar to Stephon Gilmore, a little bit less. They're not the Jalen Ramsey concern. It's more of the James Bradbury is like very good, but you can get away from him too. That's the thing. It's like the Falcons will be smart enough to not only give Calvin Ridley significant volume, but get him away from Lattimore for parts of the game. So I don't see how the question here, I feel like, is do you bench Ridley? And you can't bench Ridley.
You can't bench Ridley. Oh, here's a very good question from Peter Pistol P. Uja. If you have the number one waiver wire this week, who would you take?
How's that the good question? It's a bad question because I don't know who's available.
Here's the thing, Jake. So I'm helping someone. We help people with their teams a lot. Like, we have just like friends.
Like, give me names.
If you can't figure it out, don't do it and save it for next week. That's what I told him. Like, he's like, should we get this defense? I'm like, no, man. We got number 4 waiver wire priority right now. Let's not waste it. Like, with the defense, let's not burn it. Let's just see what everybody else ahead of us does. If something catastrophic happens this week, and this team's 10-2, we get the number 1 spot, at least top 3. So, like, if you really gotta ask, and I'm not, maybe you have someone
like
in
if
mind,
Debo's out there, which should have
Debo's
been
out
picked
there,
up for weeks. If Booker is out there, which should have been picked up for weeks, like I can see that. But that's the thing is like need some names.
Yeah,
I'm with you. Like I'm not
strategize.
I'm not burning a waiver spot on like Sterling Shepard, even though he should be off waivers, but he's more of a wide receiver 3 or 4 with not a very low, but a lower ceiling.
You know what you can do? Go to, if you're playing on CBS, pull under players. There's roster trends. Click on that, and it'll tell you who the most added players are. And sometimes I even like to go to most viewed because that'll tell you who people are looking at and they want to add if the waiver wires haven't run yet. So they ran last night, but before the waiver wires run, if you go to most viewed, you're going to see who people are checking out. Yahoo has the same thing. It's research, and then I think transaction trends, and it'll show you who the most added and dropped are. Jake, Benny's watching.
Benny's always watching.
Benny, Benny, just come on, man. Shoot a note back in here if you want to just jump on and screw around for 13 minutes or so. Here's
the question.
What? I thought he was just joking. Because that's a check the link question.
Yeah, that's a check the link question.
Is that why? Good luck, Peter. I don't know. Answer it. Go ahead.
I was going to joke and say check the link because it was Benny.
But who do you bench, Jake? That's a pretty tough question.
Hey, look, you can make a case to bench any of them. The obvious one is if Josh Jacobs is limited in practice on Friday. Of those, I would actually bench Josh Jacobs.
All right, I'm going to put a question up. I'm going to send Benny the link if he wants to come on. Everyone's here. This is a holiday treat. Benny Ricciardi jumps on. The author of Benny Ricciardi's Ultimate Guide to Fantasy Baseball.
I remember that.
There you go, Jake.
Spend all fabs on Booker?
Yeah. Would you? At this point in the season? I mean, if Jacobs out for a couple weeks, you're looking at the playoffs.
I don't think Jacobs a couple weeks. I think he's going to be a 1-week play. I think Jacobs is fine next week. They said it wasn't that bad. It's just if he misses this week, look, this is playoffs. You're trying to get into the playoffs if you wait all this time. But at the same time, I'm not coming for Redline S2K, but Booker should not have been on waivers.
All right.
I'm not being like, go read my column, but go read the waiver column. Like Booker has been on there for weeks. Like you shouldn't have to spend all your fab. You shouldn't have to burn your number 1 waiver priority on Debo or Booker because these guys should have been picked up. So if they are still out there, yeah, you kind of have to. But you could have saved yourself is what I'm saying.
But I mean, would you save? How much would you save? Say you have
Booker?
Say you don't have $0 transactions and you got about $16 left.
I'd go 14.
Say the next person has like 22.
14. All right. 14.
All right. Oh, well, that's
leave yourself
exact.
2 $1 bids in case you lose a quarterback or tight end or something like that.
Here's our boy GT Ben needs a high upside due to points tiebreaker to make the playoffs. This is another thing I'm talking about, Jake, in week 13.
This is different. This is different than what we talked about in the show this morning.
Right, but I mean, this is kind of the same. Like, I have a points. My number 6 seed in my league gets in the most points outside of record. Yeah,
that's flex.
And then if you both got the same record, like the one with a higher point total gets in.
Speaking of which,
yeah,
all 3 out of the 4 leagues, six spot is getting kicked out for the points, except for one where Corey is in 6th. Corey Parson, friend of the show, he's in 6th and has the most points remaining, so he's kind of okay.
All right, that's great.
I was just giving a shout out to. I was giving a shout out to Corey Parson at the same time.
The fantasy executive.
So this one here, like let's break it down. Taysom Hill, we've seen his ceiling because it's 2 rushing touchdowns. He's not rushing for 3 or 4 rushing touchdowns.
Right.
So we've seen that. Trubisky, as crazy as it might sound, he's thrown a 4-touchdown, 5-touchdown game before. So he actually has the higher ceiling. And then Perryman versus Higgins, it's Perryman because Higgins is unfortunately playing, as crazy as that's going to sound, with the worst quarterback because Perryman's playing with Sam Darnold.
So I still kind of have faith in Higgins.
I do too, but he got that touchdown late, and Tyler Boyd was still the first option, and Brandon Allen's not a big threat. Like if he doesn't get that, and I'm not saying like don't give him the touchdown, but Higgins' ceiling, like Perriman's ceiling, is 150 and 2. Higgins is probably 85 and a touchdown.
Here's a red line just clarifying that someone dropped. That's rewind. If
you there you go.
The Devontae Booker question from before. Someone dropped him. Dustin, Jake, I haven't really considered Robert Tonyan.
Barkley just grabbed one of her new toys that I got her for Christmas.
Early, Jake. It's December 3rd.
I know. They came today and I had them on the table and somehow she got to it and she's playing with it.
You're going to confuse your dog with this holiday schedule.
Well, no, she wasn't. Barkley, come here. She's not supposed to know about this toy yet.
Well, Jake, get her another one.
She loses interest in toys in like 4 days. So that's why I was saving it too.
Short attention span.
Check the link.
No, come on, man.
No, seriously. Ertz is going to play a factor. You're going to have to check later this week. Ertz is playing into this decision.
So the nice way to say that is how you just did.
No, the right way to say it is
check the link. Is Tonyan like 5-6 weeks ago? I still have Tonyan on my roster, like just to have him in case something happens to Darren Waller and Evan Ingram in my teams where I have Tonyan. What do you think about that, Jake? Well, actually, I think it's a great idea to have Tonyan.
I heard you. I was getting the pink.
All right, nice. That's great. Give a shout out to where you bought it. Pets.com?
Chewy.
All right.
Chewy.com. Oh, you can't see. You can probably see Barkley playing with it if you put it. Can you see her?
Jake, hold on, man.
Can you see her?
This is really going off the rails.
I saw the question. Oh, she's barely down there.
I don't know.
She's all into it. Anyway.
Welcome to the Barkley.
Tonyan's fine, but Tonyan's tight end touchdown base, like most of them are, after you get past the top 5 or 6.
How much does Ertz being back hurt Goddard?
I'd say you put Goddard back into the fringe tight end 1 conversation. The beginning of this year, even with Ertz not really looking well, the beginning of this year, Goddard was still fringe tight end 1 just because it's a volume situation. It's a good matchup this week, so I think you can put both of them in play if Ertz is back.
Jake, how are you looking at this Baltimore running back situation? It was already a mess, and Justice Hill had a couple. I mean, there was one run where he looked great yesterday.
Yeah, that was the only one.
I mean, but you know what? He got completely destroyed by the commentators the previous run. I think the previous play when he just missed a hole to the left and ran right to the outside.
Yeah, he's Justice Hill. He's okay.
Yeah, but the next one he was great.
1 out of 10.
Is that going to mess anything up for the already messed up rotation that they have?
No, Justice Hill is irrelevant. Gus Edwards, you have to worry about being used at the goal line. Mark Ingram, maybe a little bit of usage. I'm going to bank on J.K. Dobbins, but J.K. Dobbins is not a definite start.
We also don't know how sick these guys are. Like, I mean, it's few and far between, but
they were asymptomatic, or else they would have been allowed to come back.
Is that right?
It's 10 days. 10 days is asymptomatic. 14 days is for if you have symptoms. So that means
10 and 4.
Well, no, because that was 10 days.
Yeah, but maybe they started to get symptoms. That's why they didn't take the flight.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, they didn't have symptoms. They were eligible to come back. They could have been declared eligible to come back. The NFL would have said no, is what I'm saying, if they had symptoms.
Maybe they did because they got symptoms on that 10th day. It's a strange virus, Jake. We don't know how it works yet.
Yeah.
Answer John's question. I'm going to say absolutely not. This is the Giants division all the way, man.
No, it might be Washington.
That's fine. I'm okay
with it.
I got futures on both of them, Jake.
Both of them have a tough schedule down the stretch.
So
I mean, look at this week. Who do you think has a more winnable game? Washington and Pittsburgh or the Giants and Seattle?
It's not fair because the Giants situation there with Daniel Jones.
What do you mean it's not fair? I'm asking you who's more likely to win their game.
Well, yeah, not the Giants.
Okay.
Well, you think they are?
No.
All right. Let's sit on the Cowboys for a second because you had CeeDee Lamb as kind of like your feature boy in your rankings column. We talked about this on the podcast this morning. Make sure you go check it out, the Athletic Fantasy Football Podcast. It's good stuff. But CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup's pretty much irrelevant. Dalton Schultz is kind of involved. Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, this is a list of guys who can completely destroy your playoff chances, right? In one fell swoop.
Which way? Like good or bad? Like bad. Against you or
well, look, I mean,
zero?
Are you going to start any of these guys confidently going in if you're 7-5, and you gotta win
On the Cowboys?
Yeah, I mean, like who?
Yeah,
like, can you
absolutely.
start Michael Gallup and be like, I feel great.
No.
man. My wide receiver
No.
3, Ezekiel
No.
Elliott. Great, he's going to carry
Yes.
me into the playoffs.
Yes. Look, Ezekiel Elliott, 20 touches. It was one off game. Just if we were having this Thursday conversation last week, you know what everybody's saying? Yeah, sure, okay. He's a Cowboys fan. If we were saying this before Thanksgiving's game, everybody's like, oh, yeah, 100 yards. He's back. He's fine. He's okay.
Yeah.
He's getting 18, 20 carries still. It's hard to find that volume. Here's the thing that we said before that game, before the 100-yard game. What's the difference between Zeke and David Montgomery at this point? Nothing. They're volume running backs.
Montgomery, I love Montgomery.
Yeah, but he's got good matchups. That's why. The difference between them is nothing. They're both volume guys now who you hope for the matchups. You have to play Zeke. You have to play Cooper. You have to play CeeDee Lamb. And Dalton Schultz is in the conversation, but it's just those 4. Michael Gallup's been irrelevant since Dak.
Benny can't come on. He's got the kids. Send him a link.
I mean, I've got a dog trying to play with my pink dinosaur.
Hey, JG.
Crinkle and...
I know, but you're kind of like self-fulfilling that prophecy.
What
prophecy? Couple more questions. That the dog's playing with it. You're messing with the dog, trying to get her to play with it. Pittman, Higgins, or Ayuk this week? Ayuk's back from COVID-19. Higgins, we talked about a little bit before. Michael Pittman, as Eric Moody pointed out, leads the Colts, I think, over the last 4 weeks in basically every measurable wide receiver stat.
Right.
What do you think, Jake? And who wins? Just give us a background.
Well, background to not check the link? Because you know what I'm going to say? Just to check the link?
You're going to say Pittman.
I am. You look who he's facing. Do you know who he's facing?
Yeah, of
Texans.
Course. The Texans.
Yeah.
And
he got 9 targets last
Cam
week.
Newton? Fair.
No, I think he's making a joke about the fact that I compared 2 other quarterbacks to Cam Newton. Remember somebody was saying how many quarterbacks are Cam Newton?
Gotcha. Or he might just be.
Or maybe.
Benny, put the kids on. It'll be great.
This is a family.
Wait until Jake says bad words. I love Chubb more. I mean, everyone loves Chubb more than Jalen Smith. As a Cowboys fan, that's pretty impressive.
Good times.
Here's a question from Dominic Denoto. If Gaskin plays for sure, would he rank above Devontae Parker? Probably not with Fitz, right? What do you feel it was Tua? A lot of qualifiers in this one, Jake. Let's just do the first part. If Gaskin plays for sure, would he rank above Devontae Parker?
Guess what? Gaskin's in the rankings. Don't ask where would he rank if he's in the rankings.
Jake, come on, man. Be a man of the people. Just answer the questions.
They're
taking their time out to watch a YouTube stream with the kids.
Oh my God! Hold on. She's grabbing all the toys. Hold on. You talk. You answer the question.
All right, let me answer the question for you. Probably, although Savon Ahmed is back. Devontae Parker's amazing with Fitz. There's a great Brandon Howard column up right now. It talks about the players who benefit from a quarterback switch. And I believe that Devontae Parker was one of them because Ryan Fitzpatrick likes to throw up those 50-50 balls, whereas Tua doesn't. And Devontae Parker and Mike Gesicki, they thrive with those 50-50 balls. So I would actually upgrade Devontae Parker. It happened last year when he was having an okay season to start with. They switched it back to Fitzpatrick from Josh Allen, and Devontae Parker went nuts. Like, had that string of amazing games. If you go back and look at it, his numbers at the end of the year look great. But Devontae Parker really took off when Ryan Fitzpatrick came back for the second time as a starting quarterback. There's your answer. Ta-da! Dustin Gilmore. I've been riding Miami deep, but their playoff schedule is tough. Would you go with San Fran or Chicago? Chicago's D used to be great, Jake. Remember those days?
Chicago's also got a bad matchup. Just play the matchups.
All right. Gaskin Parker questions.
Not this week, but I mean for the playoffs. Chicago's 3 weeks aren't all good, is what I was saying.
Gotcha. Taz, he'll check the link. He's a subscriber. TheAthletic.com.
Then why are you asking?
Because, Jake, he likes having his answers question on the YouTube stream. Come on. Would you like me to read it out loud? Mostert versus Bills or Carson versus
I don't think
Giants?
He's asking you. You can ask. You can answer.
He
knows me. Checking the link.
So here's something interesting.
I want to hear your answer.
One of the footballers yesterday, I think it was the Hitman, put out a question asking. No, wait, it was Andy. It was Jason. One of the footballers put out a question on Twitter asking, "Is there a place where I can get a stat that's just the team fantasy points for a position?" So it's not the players ranked by fantasy points. It's like the San Francisco running backs are number blank, and the San Francisco I couldn't believe it. The San Francisco running backs were ranked 4th in fantasy points overall among all the teams.
Right.
And it's like one of those forest for the trees things. Like if you play in fantasy, you don't look at the whole team and how they do. You just kind of say, oh, this guy, oh, now this week it was Tevin Coleman. Oh my God. to bring it all back, I mean, if they ever decide to just settle on the hot hand, I would still go with Chris Carson, I think, though. He's just in such a better situation.
Oh, see, no, but that's the problem is I don't like that stat at all because that's the same. Here, see, I told you. I told you he was asking you.
You get a much more fulsome answer.
No, I was telling you.
Word for that.
He was asking you.
Oh, it's Moody. Where were you 20 minutes ago, man?
I don't like that question.
Eric Moody's the man for all you.
Can I get to the stat thing? You asked me. You tell me to tell you things, and then you just keep interrupting me.
Go ahead, Jake.
That stat about the backfield is the same thing when people look at the entire season for a running back and say, "Oh, he's the 8th running back." Despite one week he was 35th, and the next week he was 6th, and the next week he was 47th, and the next week he was 10th. That's similar. That there's a reason. Like, if I told you, I don't know off the top of my head, but if I told you the Bills' backfield was the 7th best backfield, you wouldn't care because it's split up every single week. So, to the Mostert question, I've felt this about Mostert the entire time. He's the only Shanahan running back we've been able to trust in years.
True. So your answer is him over Carson still?
No.
All right. Here's a Ryan Ohashi question, which he qualifies as an interesting question. If this is a must-win week for someone, is there anyone you recommend picking up knowing there is no tomorrow if you don't win? Would that be Devontae Booker, Jake?
I mean, again,
someone who you could think would go off.
Give us some names.
Maybe he's just looking for a sleeper name that no one's thought of that he wants to explore a little bit. Like Denzel Mims. A lot of upside with Denzel Mims. I would go.
This goes back to the same conversation we had on the podcast. No, it's always a must-win. There's no difference between this week and week 3. What do we say on the podcast? Evaluate your own team and play your best team. I'm not going to go pick up Denzel Mims and start him over a wide receiver like Jarvis Landry because, what if Mims goes for 150 and 2? Like, I'm just like, play your best team. No. It's true.
Jake's in a mood because his dog found his Christmas
present.
Yeah.
No, it's the very beginning of the rankings column this week. I'm not saying my tone is my tone. This is how I talk. So it's the same question we get every single year. Every game is a must win. I have to win. You didn't have to win in week 5? Every week is the same. You evaluate your team, you put your best lineup out there, and what happens. Don't overthink it just because it's week 13, week 14, week 50. You start your best team. You do your best. You do your best.
I'm sorry, that's your monologue. I interrupted.
I'm just saying, you do your best, and luck is going to come into play. You go out and put your best line here, Nando. You put your best lineup out there last week, and I got people tweeting me because I asked it, and they were still giving me not all 5 names. But you put your best lineup out there and it scores 140 points, and you lose to a team that has Derrick Henry and Tyreek Hill. There's nothing you could have done. You still scored your best possible. Fantasy football has luck. There's nothing you can do about it. I'm not bad. Right. I'm emphatic.
Let's get a couple more questions, Jake, and then we'll.
My speaking is in bold right now.
Jake needs to go and hide the rest of his dog Christmas gifts. Here we go. Here's a big one, Jake, from MJ. Which D do I pick up?
See, this has names. I don't mind it. This is technically names. I like this. Also now I have options.
This is every team in the NFL. You just basically copy and pasted the Wikipedia page for NFL teams. So we go Tampa, Washington, Panthers, Cowboys, Texans versus Shy, Buff, Chargers, or 49ers?
You good?
Oh, I don't understand the Shy Buff part, but whatever.
Texas versus Chicago.
Yeah. But then Buff he didn't want to. Who cares about the Buffalo opponent? Right?
I think he just slapped Buffalo in there and forgot to put who they were playing.
Tampa seems like they can get some interceptions and they can sack.
No, Buffalo is playing Pittsburgh next week. So, no, I wouldn't do that. And Buffalo's defense has been playing better, but not. It would be Washington versus San Francisco. And I like Washington, and they get pressure. And Nick Mullins under pressure. Interceptions, potential turnovers. Minnesota, Kirk Cousins has been playing good, and their defense has started to go down. Go back.
Finish this quote. Benny knows it. Moody probably knows it. Winners go home.
Okay.
And?
Look, more names.
Sorry, I finished this one. The thing moved.
49ers have been playing better, but still not great. The thing is, Alex Smith isn't going to throw a ton of turnovers.
Yes, Paulie! Shout out to Paul. All right, are you done?
Yeah, I was trying to give everybody more context. See, this is what happens, everybody. This is why Nando knows how to trigger me, is because I try to give
anything.
I try to give context, and it keeps sidebarring in the middle of my context. And then when I don't give context, it's, come on, give him some more explanation. I can't do a Nando voice.
Let's get to Sam. It's just it's deeper and oakier. Who's the highest priority added? Jarvis Landry, James White, and Carlos Hyde. Who's the second?
White.
All right.
Oh, he has Chris Carson? No, then Hyde.
Yeah?
Yeah, because if Chris Carson gets hurt again, we just saw 2 weeks ago with Carlos Hyde is going to be the Chris Carson. So you have to go with that.
You want to finish this quote yet, Jake?
I don't know the rest of the quote.
Look it up. Google it.
No.
Yeah. Look it up on YouTube. All right, 2 more questions, then we got to go. Manny Ocean Master. Pittman and Rivers or Cousins and Thielen?
For what is that, a trade?
I guess he's stacking someone maybe for DFS.
If you're doing DFS, okay, I'll give context for this one. This is another question I get a lot. You don't stack in seasonal. Like people are like, well, I'm starting blank quarterback. Does that mean I should play this wide receiver over this wide receiver, despite the fact they're 15 spots apart? If it's close, then I don't care. Go ahead and stack. But you don't stack in seasonal just because that's not that you play your best players. Again,
so
play your best guys.
Pick a quarterback and a wide receiver then.
These two, I mean, if I was going with it, would still be Cousins, Thielen for both. Cousins over Rivers and Thielen over Pittman. So that's fine in this case.
All right. Quick favor. Just don't say check the link. This is the last question of the show. Be a nice guy. Oh, it is for daily. There you go.
There you go.
Here you go. There's a question from Tim. Pick 2. Cooks, McLaurin, Cup. It's actually a good one. Brandon Cooks, the only show in town, elevated to number 1 now and would probably get more target share. McLaurin's just an unstoppable stud. And
a bad matchup.
Cup's uneven.
Cup actually has a terrific matchup this week. But it's full PPR. It's Cooks and McLaurin.
Without question?
Without question.
See,
this is another one. Evaluate, I'll give you this. Don't look at the opponent's lineup.
Yeah.
Your own lineup. Here, I'll give Tim and everybody else. This is what we'll go out on because I want to hammer this point home, this entire theme of the show.
But Tim didn't ask anything about the opponent's
I know,
lineup.
but I'm saying, no. I'm giving an example. See, again.
Hey, Jake, I'll give you full screen for this. Go.
If you evaluate your own team,
hold on.
Back up.
Hold on. I'm going to give you this.
I'll put the question back up too, so people can see it.
Jake. All right,
so people can see the entire thing. It's probably going to overlap it a little bit. Oh yeah, see it they go the opposite direction. All right, so pull it back off. Whatever you want to do. So Cooks and McLaurin are the best play. If you're looking at your team and you're saying, "Oh my God, my running backs are dicey, and I need upside," then you go with Cup because Cup actually has the bigger boom potential, but he also has the bigger bust. If you've been watching his games this year, outside of that, 21 targets in that one game. Been somewhat inconsistent over the past couple of weeks. So you evaluate your team, not the other team, your team.
Got it. How's that? Now you get your name and you get Tim's question.
I don't really, I don't care.
All right, fine. All right, cool.
You're going to put my old Twitter handle up?
Jake CIely is Jake Allen CIely is the all-in kid and is giving you fantasy advice. On that note, there you go. Thanks. It's the holiday season. Get hype, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this. Best of luck in week 13. Man, that Tuesday night game is going to screw so many people up.
When you said the holiday season, you made me think of the Frank Sinatra song.
It's the holiday season. The top 100 Christmas songs from me and Brandon Funston coming next week. Stay tuned. Not on this, on the site. TheAthletic.com gives you everything you need. Check out some of the stories. Still have $1 a month special. I don't know why. It's a Black Friday hangover kind of thing, but they're still on there. Yeah, they're still on there. Enjoy. Thank you. Godspeed. Jake, take us out with a quote from The Rock.
Welcome to The Rock.
Yeah. Goodbye, everybody. Good luck. We'll see you later.